Dragon Ball Legends is cooked. You'd think that a game that was built around Dokkan's feedback would be better, right? Well, that's if they actually listened, and didn't just do the exact opposite of what players asked for. At first, I thought this was going to be a pretty short video, but little did I know, Dragon Ball Legends is an even worse game than I thought, and still has a lot to learn from Dokkan. Let's start with the biggest issue. You see, both Dokkan and Legends are centered around one big thing, and it's summons. And the thing is that Dokkan has a very bad pity system, especially compared to other gacha games. So why and how is it still 10 times better than Legends? Bro, I was so surprised coming back to Legends and seeing that even to this day, most banners don't even have guaranteed sparkings per multi-summons. Like bro, what? Dokkan got guaranteed SSRs back in April 2018 on every single banner, even the ones with step-ups. How is it still not a thing in Legends 7 years later? 7 years later. Like in Legends there's legit multis where you just get nothing, literally nothing. At least in Dokkan you're guaranteed an SSR, and if you have that unit rainbowed, meaning you have that unit at 14 stars, you can exchange that extra copy for coins that you can then use to get whatever unit you want. Which brings me to my next point. Why don't coins in Legends carry over between banners? Like, what kind of pity system is that? You can only use the coins you got from the banner on that specific banner, and if it's a dual Legends Fest or whatever it's called, each banner has its own type of coin? Well, that's just crazy to me. Like in Dokkan, if there's a dual Dokkan Fest, both banners share the same coin, and they don't expire or anything. You can save them as long as you want. And sure, in Dokkan you need 500 coins to get a Dokkan Fest LR, which would be the equivalent of a Legend Limited Ultra, if those were a thing. And 500 coins is roughly 2,500 stones, so about 50,000 Chrono Crystals. But keep in mind that not only do the coins carry over between banners, all of the units you pull that are maxed out will give you an additional 3 coins, so save you about 50 Dragon Stones, which is roughly 300 Chrono Crystals. So for veterans, Dokkan's system is actually pretty good. I managed to hit the pity during the 10th year anniversary without spending a single dollar. All of that just from the free currency they gave during that celebration. And got myself one of the new unit essentially for free. A Legends Limited Ultra for free. Well, on Legends, you need 35,000 Chrono Crystals to hit the pity for the new unit. And that new unit is a Legends Limited Sparking unit, which would be the equivalent of a Dokkan Fest TUR, which you can get with Dokkan's pity for 400 coins, so 40,000 Chrono Crystals. And Legends pity coins are only usable on that banner you summoned on. Like bro, Legends pity system is just a complete joke. Like I have no idea how people actually spend money on that game. Because if that pity system wasn't bad enough, maybe that's just me, but I feel like one copy of a new unit just isn't enough in Legends. You need at least 2 copies of that new unit if you want that said unit to not get power crap literally the next month. At least that's how it felt back in the days. As in Dokkan, most units don't really need dupes that much. Like it's a nice buff, and the first dupe can be quite impactful, but it doesn't feel like something you have to chase. You can clear most endgame content with 55% units, so units that don't have any dupe in them. And in Dokkan you just need 5 copies of a unit to max it out. Well, in Legends, you need like 15 copies on a regular banner, 9 copies if it's a double Z power banner, and 6 copies if it's a triple Z power banner, which is still worse than Dokkan's dupe system, on literally the best possible banner. A banner that still has worse raise than Dokkan. And bro, the featured units on Legends banners. In Dokkan during break celebrations, you can just summon on the main banners and pull enough good units to build some of the best teams in the game. Teams that can clear essentially all of the end game content the game has to offer. In Legends, that's just not a thing. The meta just moves so fast that it's almost impossible for a banner to have more than half of its featured units still be top tier. Which brings me to my next point. Power creep in Legends just feels out of control. I heard that it got better in the past year, like there's some units that are still good even a year after their initial release, but back in the days bro, it felt like every new unit was the best unit in the game, and countering the previous one. So you had to keep summoning or else you could just forget PvP, which is just crazy to me. Like I completely understand that power creep is necessary for a gacha game to survive, otherwise nobody would summon for the new units, but in Dokkan you can legit skip 90% of the banners and still be good for the year. The only banners that are really must summons are the Anniversary and Worldwide banners. So basically the Anniversary and Legends Fest, if you just summon on the banners of those celebrations, you can literally beat everything in the game for the whole year without any problem. Especially with EZAs, which are a whole other thing we need to talk about. Why is the Zenkai system in Legends so damn bad? Like, I just don't get it. Sure, it got better since its initial release, but it still feels way worse than Dokkan's EZA system. In Dokkan, you just have to beat 30 stages of an EZA, if it's a quote-unquote sparking unit, and 10 stages if it's an LR EZA, so like an Ultra. And those stages give you 30 stones, which is the equivalent of 600 Chrono Crystals, and a lot of Kais and potential orbs. Most of the time enough resources to completely max out a unit, which I guess would be the equivalent of enough resources to max out the arts cards of a character in Legends. And those stages are very easy if you've been playing the game for some time. I can't even remember the last time I've struggled to beat an EZA. Well, on Legends, I don't think I've ever finished one of those Zenkai Battle Gauntlet. Maybe I'm just bad at the game, or maybe because that event used to have 100 stages, but I remember the difficulty of those last stages being just ridiculous. It felt just so forced and artificially inflated. But that's not even the worst part. The event doesn't even give you all of the Zenkai Z power you need. You have to clear missions to get the rest. Missions that aren't hard per se, but they're tedious and also time gated. You need to complete daily missions for some of the Z powers, meaning it will take you at the very least 14 days to Zenkai 7 a unit, which just sounds so crazy to me, especially knowing that it's Legends. Like, that Zenkai 7 unit could literally be outdated in 14 days. It's like they want you to summon for the Zenkai Z powers, which is also another crazy thing to me. Like, how is that even a thing? Summoning to make an old unit better. The whole point of this kind of system is to reward veterans and help out free-to-play players by making old units better, not another way to squeeze money out of the players. I'm also pretty sure that once the Zenkai event for a unit is gone, it's gone forever. You're then going to have to get their Zenkai Z power through the Zenkai Ultra Space-Time Rush, which is essentially the battlefield from Dokkan, which I guess is not too bad, but the problem is that to Zenkai Awaken a unit, you need to have that unit at 7 stars. Like, what? That's like if in Dokkan you need to Rainbow a unit to EZA them. It just sounds so insane, especially with how bad the rates are for Legends limited characters. Like, for regular Sparking units, okay, fair enough, they're unfeatured on every banner, or at least I would hope so, so you'll eventually 7-star them. But Legends limited characters, they're not featured on every banner, and with how hard they are to pull, this just feels like the biggest middle finger in the world. Like, okay, you want your EZAs? Good. Just pull that 0.5% rate unit 5 times, then we'll talk. Crazy bro, crazy. And talking about bad rates, Ultra banners. Are we like back in 2017? That's the kind of thing Dokkan was pulling back then, with the first LRs that were unfeatured on their initial banners. Banners that even though were absolutely terrible, like you literally had like a 0.8% chance of pulling the new LR on his initial banner, but at least all of the previous LRs were also unfeatured on that banner. In Legends, not only are the banners terrible, there's only one Ultra on the banner. So let me get this straight for you. This would be like if in Dokkan, Legendary Summon banners only had one LR on the banner. Just one LR, featured and unfeatured. One LR on the whole banner, with less than a 0.5% chance of you pulling that said LR, which is literally worse than the first version of the LR banners, where the LRs were literally unfeatured on the banner, and that on top of that, the rest of the banner was just complete and utter garbage. That's just insane. Like, how is this even legal? Like, seriously, that should be a crime. And if you're a Legends only player, let me tell you in Legends language what Ultra banners look like in Dokkan. And just keep in mind that those banners are still some of the worst banners in Dokkan, and not worth a single one of your swords, but are still a billion times better than whatever Legends has. So, to start off, a Legendary Summon banner in Dokkan features 3 Ultras and 7 Sparking units, and every other Ultra that released before them is unfeatured on the banner. Then you're guaranteed a featured unit every 3 multi. So every 3 multi, you have a 30% chance of pulling an Ultra. And the banner has a pity system, where you're guaranteed a new unit after 20,000 Chrono Crystals. And if you're lucky and pull them beforehand, and don't want another copy, you can just convert the special coins you got from that pity into yellow coins that are transferable between all Legendary Summon banners, meaning you can pick up a free Ultra of your choice after spending 50,000 Chrono Crystals across any Ultra banner. Like, if you're a Legends player, this probably sounds so good, and that's the problem. Like, those banners are easy skips in Dokkan, even if the new LR is like the best unit in the game, since the new LR is going to be unfeatured on every other free banner moving forward anyways, meaning you can literally pull him at any time through any of the free ticket banner the game has. So you could potentially get him at some point literally just for free. And now that's just a crazy one. Dragon Ball Legends has a 20k CC soft cap, meaning you can't get Chrono Crystals from exchange shops after you reach that cap. which from my understanding is a big chunk of the amount of CCs you can get in a month as a free-to-play player. So this cap literally just exists to hurt free-to-play players and not let them stack up a huge amounts of chrono crystals. Because think about it, is it really worth it to lose the monthly chrono crystals from the exchange shops just to save up enough chrono crystals to better your chances of pulling the character you want? For most players, it's probably not. So most players who want to save will stay between the 15 to 25k CC range, which is not even enough to hit the PD on one of the new banners, and can't even guarantee you an ultra character, since those banners have no PD. Like, this is just crazy, bro. Dragon Ball Legends really hates free-to-play players, but if that wasn't greedy enough, they even have a 200k CC cap on buyable chrono crystals. So even Giga Ultra Wells can't stack up as many chrono crystals as they would want. Like, how can a game be this greedy? This is just insane. I've never seen a game like that didn't die. So how is Legends still alive? I'm 100% sure that if this game had like a different IP, like if it was a 7 Deadly Sins Legends, literally the game would have been dead like years ago. The only reason why this game is still alive is because of the Dragon Ball IP. But to be fair, we could say the same thing about Dokkan. Like, Dragon Ball fans are crackheads, bro. Like, they'll literally buy anything as long as it has a cool transformation. Daima's literally the living proof of that. I don't think it was a good show. I personally didn't like it, but I would still summon for a new Daima Super Saiyan for Goku. Like, it's a disease, bro. And those games, especially Legends, are really using that to their advantage to squeeze as much money as they can out of Dragon Ball fans. It's just crazy. But coming back to the topic of wells, one thing that I really like about Dokkan is that wells are actually a net positive for the game in every single aspect. They keep the game afloat with their money, and they help free-to-play players with their friend leaders. Like, this should be a thing in Legends. We should be able to set a unit we want as our friend leader, and other players should be able to use that unit in the PvE content of the game. This would just make PvE content like so much better. That's just such a huge thing in Dokkan, being able to use a maxed out well unit to help you beat the new hardest event in the game. But I do agree that this would 100% be a different story if Dokkan had some sort of PvP. Like, the closest thing Dokkan has to PvP is the World Tournament, and in that event, there's not really a big difference between a free-to-play veteran and like a well. Like, what really matters in the World Tournament is how much time you are willing to put into the event. That's really it, which is absolutely horrible if you're a well, since you can't buy your way into the top. You still need to put the same amount of time as any other player into the event. But since we're on the topic of PvE content, the PvE content in Dragon Ball Legends is so much worse than Dokkan. And honestly, I don't really blame them, since the only thing that Legends really has over Dokkan is PvP. Like, people who play Legends, they play the game for the PvP. Nobody plays Legends for their PvE content. Like, even when they first announced the game, that was like their main selling point, the fact that it was a PvP game. So even if they did improve their PvE content, it wouldn't really do much for their revenue, which is pretty much the only thing they care about, money. So they might as well capitalize on their strength and main selling point, which is PvP. But there's still some things that they could learn from Dokkan. First, one of the things that I like the most about Dokkan is that for the most part, PvE content in the game is not really frustrating. Like, most of the time when I lose an event, I can pinpoint exactly why I lost and just not make the same mistake again. In Legends, from what I can remember, it wasn't really the case. The endgame PvP content just felt artificially inflated. The AI wasn't smarter, it was just stronger. Like, you basically just can't let the AI touch you, and you had to kill it before it kills you, so it just wasn't a fun experience. Like, instead of making the AI smarter, they just take the easy route and make everything complete BS. But like I said earlier, I don't really blame them, since it's mainly like a PvP game. But can those events at least stay? Like, I don't understand. Why do every hard event they release not only require the new units, but also disappears at the end of the campaign? Like, bro, in Dokkan everything stays forever, so if you can beat something, no problem. Take as much time as you need, and you'll eventually pull the units to let you beat that specific event or mission. But in Legends, bro, you didn't pull the new unit, too bad for you, bro. You're not beating that event, and that event is going away, bro. Too bad. Which comes to my next point. Dokkan actually feels like a mobile game. Everything is just so much more chill, while Legends feels like a second job, where you have to consistently keep up with the meta and pull the new shiny units, or else you literally just can't play the game. I feel like there's just too much FOMO in Legends, and not a game you can really enjoy casually. Maybe this is not the case anymore, and things improved, but like I already said, back in the days, it felt like the meta was changing every month, and units were literally aging out in months, or even weeks sometimes. Things were just moving so fast. fast. You just couldn't chill. Also, we need to talk about the equipment system. What the hell is that garbage? Like, I don't mind the fact that it's not exactly like Dokkan, where the system is just way simpler and like way less grindy. Well, actually, it's not even grindy at all. There's almost no grind involved when it comes to skill orbs in Dokkan. You can get top tier skill orbs just playing the game casually. And if you really want that perfect skill orb setup, you can just grind them in the Whis event. But even then, only a handful of those skill orbs are actually better than what you would get from other missions. And it doesn't even require 1% of the grind you would need to get the perfect equipment in Legends. Actually, not even less than a percent of the grind. The amount of resources required to max out an equipment in Legends is just something else. I've heard players spending multiple thousands of erasers to reroll a single slot on one equipment. And I know they released some sort of guaranteed equipment upgrade item recently, but it can only be used in slot 1, which from what I remember was the slot that you actually didn't reroll. You just farmed as many copies of that equipment until you got one with good slot 1 stats, and then rerolled slot 2 and 3. And bro, the prices for those are just outrageous. Like, this is just such a scam. Like, honestly, just every equipment should be like the ultra platinum equips, where you just get that equipment fully maxed out by doing some missions or something. That's just how it is in Dokkan. Even though, to be fair, in Dokkan, skill orbs are meant to be a one-time thing you put on a character and not something you use across multiple characters. Even though you can, they're just not really meant to be used that way. Also, why are Legends login bonus rewards so much worse than Dokkan's? Like, they barely give you any chrono crystals, and it's the anniversary. I can't even imagine how it is during a regular celebration. In Dokkan, during big celebrations, you're at least getting a couple of stones every day by just logging in. And there's the Hercule special login rewards on, which is the equivalent of Legends spinning wheel, and you're getting at least an additional 1 to 7 stones from it. Well, in Legends, you're not even guaranteed current crystals from that wheel. Honestly, just Legends as a whole feels way less free friendly than Dokkan. In Dokkan, during big celebrations, they give out more than 1,000 stones, so more than 20,000 chrono crystals, and very easily. It's not like you have to sell your soul for those stones. You just get them by casually playing the game every day. Like I've already said, I pulled every single anniversary headliners that passed anniversary without putting a single cent into the game. And I had like 300 stones saved up before the anniversary, so like 6,000 chrono crystals. And yeah, sure, maybe I was just lucky, but I'm sure every player at least pulled something good at anniversary, especially with the amount of stones they gave us and the special memorial stone, something that Legends is literally never ever going to do. Just visualize that. A world where Toshi gives you a stone that you can exchange in the shop for a copy of any Ultra or Legends limited character you want that released in the past year, including the new anniversary units. It just feels surreal. Now wake up and give me your chrono crystals. But yeah, that's exactly what Dokkan did. And the crazy part is that Dokkan still out-earned Legends by like $100 million. So yeah, Legends should learn a thing or two about respecting their free-to-play player base. Now, this is obviously like 100% subjective and just my opinion, but I feel like animations in Dokkan are just so much better than Legends, and it's not because of the fact that they're in 2D, because Legends actually has some pretty good animations, like the revive animation of the Legends Limited Trunks and Gohan. But that animation for me is on par with some of Dokkan's best animations, but that's pretty much the only one I can think of. For the most part, Legends animations just feel like lazy. It's like they don't even care in innovating them. Like, why do the new anniversary headliners have reused animations? They're the anniversary headliners. Like, all of their animations should be new, especially when you consider the fact that the anniversary just came with 4 new characters. And this is also just my opinion, and honestly doesn't even matter, but I think that Dokkan's OSTs are better than Legends, so I guess that's something they could try to improve on, but like I said, I don't think it's important, and honestly, it's like the least of their worries. There's like 100,000 things they should improve before the OSTs, starting with the pity system. Like, that thing is just a complete joke. In conclusion, I feel like all of Legends' biggest problems come from the fact that it's a PvP game. It's just really hard for like a PvP gacha game to find a good balance between making money and keeping the game healthy, because if the game's actually healthy, they'll just end up making less money. I think that the rates are bad on purpose because that's how they profit. They squeeze as much money as possible from wells, who don't care about rates anyways. They'll summon as much as they need just so their team stays better than everybody else's.
Thank you all very much for playing Legends the past year. We hope you'll play a ton more this year as well.